My noble band of outlaws. Outlaw Samurai coming at you live with a video. Oh, I had noticed Samurai Bird had not come on or posted anything about change. Go, Misty. To the schedule. So, I shall fill in its place. Wait for someone to show up. Mhm. Well, in any case, until someone shows up. Yeah, I didn't see anything about Bird not having uh, Samurai Night Live this week. Peanut butter filled pretzel. I didn't schedule this for 3 o'clock, 3 minutes from now. I didn't schedule this for 3 o'clock. But find out some new shit about StreamYard. I just got a notification from Gargoyle that there's no Samurai Night Live tonight. Gargoyle may show up. Who knows? Oh, that's better. Waiting for someone to show up. Hey, Gargoyle, what's up, bro? Sorry if it looks like I was texting. I was just making a post. Well, as I told you, I thought I'd give Samurai Bird a break from always hosting the Samurai Night Live show, and I decided I'll do an extra episode of the Outlaw Samurai show this week. But the regular episode will still be on uh, Monday at 8:30. So, on this show, I'm going to compare and contrast the two very standard blade geometries in the cutting world. My Unokubi Zakuri Raptor versus the Shinogi Zakuri. I know the name of this character, Michonne from The Walking Dead. Now, personally, the Shinogi Zakuri geometry The pros of the Shinogi to me is that it basically has more authority in the cut, and what I mean by that is because of the Unakubi Zakuri's reduction in the spine up through the latter half of the blade, it takes a lot of the authority out of the cut. So if you really need something to power through, then you lose that authority because of the weight reduction. You can tell this is very improvised, as it was. But yeah. However, I will say this. This is a rather short blade, so it doesn't really matter for balance. But yeah, you do lose that authority in the cut with the Shinogi Zakuri geometry. And as we know with the Unakubi Zakuri geometry, yeah, it's better for trick cutting, as we've shown, and it's very nimble. But I'd rather have the Unakubi on a sword that I'm going to be dueling with. What I mean by that is basically a sword that I'm going to be going into a judicial fight with. That's because Shinogi Zakuri are made for structure and battle and durability. Thank you, Gargoyle. But if I'm going in a judicial kind of one-on-one duel, I'd much rather have the Unakubi Zakuri just simply because of the fact that it's lighter and I can have more point control if I need it. It's just overall more balanced. But which would you choose, Gargoyle, Shinogi or Unakubi for a judicial duel? And if I could just figure out a way to maneuver around my room without bumping into everything, that would be a very big plus. Though, honestly, the Hanwei Raptor is kind of my first dip into the Unakubi Zakuri blade geometry. So I don't know if this is the same for all Unakubi Zakuri. But I feel as if the weight of the sword genuinely is more towards the Habaki. Like, it feels like it's more edge heavy in my hand than in the spine. I don't know if that's weird or anything, but it just feels that way. Like, the weight in this is more edge centered. Depends on the situation. If it's just a single dual Unakubi Zakuri, more than one, the Shinogi Zakuri. Yeah, I can see where you're going with that. Durability over finesse. Though, speaking of which, I have pool noodles. And also, I have the not smartness enough to do this when I don't really have the room. Okay, make sure I'm caught up on chat. I kind of tore through. I think I'm going to start doing like live stream cutting videos. That seems to be like a comfortable niche for me to go into. What do you think, Gargoyle? So I meticulously fold the damn wrapper. And precariously balance my computer. There we go. I've thought of doing that myself. And you should, Gargoyle. It's interesting. And I don't know if you saw that or not, but I did manage to cut it. And when I went to cut it again, well, that happened. Now, this is interesting. When I really draw the blade through, it works. I wonder if I can get those. Yep, I got those. Pool noodles are my arch enemy. I don't know. I mean, I think me and Eric are pretty good. Well, Eric is better than me, but stupid Spotify ads. I'll be the first to admit that Eric is better than me at doing this. But if me and Eric had a competition to see who's the better noodle cutter, who do you think would win? Because I think I've actually challenged Eric to make a cutting video, but I haven't done it yet. I want to challenge somebody and not make a video myself. This cursed thing would cooperate with me. I use this. Telephone chat. Oh, that won't work. So, Gargoyle, what have you been up to as of late? While I fidget around looking for something. Eric, time to eat some bees. Gargoyle, I thought I made you a moderator. Oh, yeah, you are a moderator. Okay. Helping family out. Got it. I guess it doesn't show as a moderator on StreamYard who's a moderator and who's not. That's some interest. That's interesting. Let's see if doing this is a wise idea or not. Probably not a wise idea. GG. Thanks, Gargoyle. But I don't know if this is a good idea or not, or me just being stupid. Probably me just being stupid. More than likely, me being stupid. Because I feel like I do a lot of stupid shit. Like using my bedpost as a means of an indoor cutting stand. I can see what you mean about pool noodles being your enemy, Gargoyle. Oh, no, what is that? Now, my door is over there. That's my closet. My door is over there. I don't know. I don't remember who. I think it was you who told me that unabakuri is good for trick cutting. So it may just be this edge isn't up to par. Like, there are some nicks in this. Like, don't know if you can see this goddamn mirror effect is going to drive me crazy. There are some nicks in the edge of this thing that I really need to get a finer belt for. The edge has to be a razor for pool noodles. Yeah, and as you can see, it's doing it. But then again, there's also the fact that I'm trying to avoid cutting into my bedstand. Also, there's a box fan right here. And a poor man's Stairmaster. So let's do this again, shall we? Woo! Oh, there it is. See? I nicked it with the Kisaki. And who says you can't cut with just the tip of a katana? Just the tip. Yeah. So, Gargo, real talk here. If you were to face a vampire horde, let's say, I've done zombies. Let's go over to vampires. Vampire horde. And you had your choice between a sword that was silver plated or a sword that was a Damascus with silver in it. Which would you choose? Silver plating or the sword with silver folded into it? Keeping in mind that they do make copper Damascus. Alright, I'm all caught up. Yeah, but would you have this, like, the blade is plated in silver, like silver plating, or the silver is folded into the sword itself? Basically, the difference between a Witcher blade and a Damascus blade with silver in it. I know silver for vampires. Also, if you had to, I guess you just take a steel blade and smear garlic or holy water onto it. Yeah, make sure I'm all caught up. But that's the thing. With zombies, it's relatively easy to kill them. I mean, decap and you're done. Well, not technically, because the head can still run around and do shit. But with vampires, it's a different story. Because with vampires, you either have to stake them through the heart or do enough damage to them that they die. Like with Marvel's blade, basically every time he swings his sword, he's killing a vampire because as soon as they touch silver, they start to burn and explode. But with more traditional vampires, it's like you have to stab them through the heart. in order to kill them or cut off their heads. Though, personally speaking, just like people want a titanium sword, but it doesn't hold an edge. Are you talking a sword that's completely made out of silver, Gargoyle? Because what I was talking about was just like the edge is still steel, but the flat of the blade is coated in a thin layer of silver, like nickel plating or zinc plating. And the Damascus thing was like if the silver was folded into the steel blade. Like steel, silver, steel, silver, fold, 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 draw out into a blade. Because me personally, a solid silver sword would be cool, but it'd be too ridiculously soft. No titanium, it might work. Okay, I'm completely lost here. You're talking about titanium, and I'm talking about just a regular steel blade coated with silver, or a folded steel sword with silver in it. Silver is normal, a soft metal. Yeah, I get that. But have you ever played the Witcher Gargoyle, like the Witcher series? You know how Geralt has a steel sword, but it's coated, but it has a nickel-like coating of silver, like zinc? That's what I'm kind of talking about. Like a Witcher sword, but katana-shaped. Yeah. Although, maybe if you were to take titanium and fold it correctly, it could work. So I'm not sure if it would. No, never played it. Okay, so I won't bore you with the details, but in The Witcher, the main character, Geralt, he carries around regular steel swords. Just played Ghost of Tsukushima. Nice. But he carries around a regular steel sword, but the flat and the spine of the blade are coated in a thin layer of silver. Kind of like zinc plating. Like when you have metal that has a zinc coating on it, it's like that. So the edge is steel to cut into the enemies, but the silver on the blade acts as a poison to the monsters. Does that make sense? I was going to say, if you've never played The Witcher, I guess it wouldn't make sense. But that's kind of what I would imagine a vampire hunter's sword to be like. A steel sword with a thin layer of silver plated onto the back of the blade itself. Right. So, personally speaking, if I was a vampire hunter in the era of vampire hunters, what weaponry would I carry? Now, that's a question that is kind of a loaded one. Everyone will have different prerogatives. Everyone will have different opinions on what sword it would work then. Okay, thank you, Gago. And everyone has different opinions on what sword or what weapons they would carry as a vampire hunter. Me personally, I have to go with sword and gun. But you could just coat your blade in garlic oil. That too. But I'm saying, like, if you're a part of, like, a vampire slaying guild, then you're going to have, like, it's kind of like in those games where you have specialized weapons to kill specialized monsters. And yeah, garlic oil, perfectly good alternative. Plus, it'd be a lot cheaper and more readily available. You're making me want to make a Vampire Slayer video, Gargoyle, and I'm going to give you props for the garlic oil thing in it. But as what I would choose for my weapons of choice, fighting against, but you could just, okay, yeah, I'm just making sure I'm all caught up on comments, okay. But what I would choose as my weaponry of choice, obviously, a sword, either with silver plating, as I said, or a tankard of garlic oil to basically smear on the blade. Although, there's one thing about the garlic oil, gargoyle, and that's actually that the garlic oil needs to be replenished far more often than if I had a silver coat, than if I had silver plating on my blade. So I might have to replenish the garlic oil after every few slashes. But with the silver plating, that won't be nearly as big of an issue. I can always have it replated. Or combine the both. Double the damage. But if I was a vampire hunter in period, let's say this is the not to mention there are different kinds of vampires. I've got 2 books on them. Nice. But I'm talking like your stereotypical like vampire that Van Helsing would hunt. You know, the ones that sleep in coffins and say, I want to suck your blood, blah, blah, blah. Like Bram Stoker's Dracula kind of vampires. But the weaponry I would have to be period-based. And let's say that these weapons hail from the 17th century, where some vampiric novels take place. What I would have with me is I'd have 2 flintlock pistols. They would be single shot, but they would save my life in many situations where the vampires were coming at me. Say 2 vampires were coming at me from alternate sides of the room, and they get close enough just with the twin Glockies. Next, obviously, a sword. I would opt for a 2-handed sword that could be used one-handed. So a bastard sword. Simply because I could swing with one hand and have a Glock and have the pistol in my other hand and fire. Or if I had to, use 2 hands and really start to hack through them. I would also, obviously, since this is kind of Bram Stoker's Dracula, holy water would be effective against these vampires. So I'd have tankards of holy water, glass vials that could break apart very easily. Kind of like old school grenades. I'd have garlic, obviously, and a ton of different silver weapons as well. Silver throwing knives, silver throwing stars, because small blades, that's why they make cutlery out of silver. Small silver blades are effective to a degree. A silver throwing star or a silver throwing knife. I'd also, if I had to, switch over I'd also carry a few different odds and ends with me. A knife, and maybe even if I had a horse with me on my saddle, I would carry a musket, a bow, a quiver full of silver-tipped arrows, raw garlic that I would ingest before going on the hunt, because I would assume raw garlic, while it's circulating through your bloodstream. Not to mention I assume that while raw garlic is circulating through your bloodstream, it kind of is like a deterrent to vampires in the sense that they would be able to smell it and avoid it. Love you. I was talking to my sister there, Gargoyle. It would circulate through your bloodstream and it's like, foul, evil garlic. But here's the thing. I ramble a lot, but I would also carry 2 Bowie knives. Again, all of my bladed weapons would be silver plated, and because you gave me the idea, I'd also carry a large supply of garlic oil with me that I would coat my blades with, or I pour the garlic oil into the scabbard so that the oil saturates the wood, so that every time I sheath and resheath the sword, the oil from the scabbard will leak back onto the blade. There's also another bit of 15th century technology that I would take full advantage of. And you'll have to give me a moment. Now you notice how I said 15th century technology, Gargoyle. 15th century. Because in the 17th century, these were pretty much completely phased out of warfare. Sometimes the Bowie is a little hyped up. Well, I'm saying as a combat knife, not as a main weapon. I personally like the Bowie style knives. But I'd also have a crossbow. Now, it's not going to be like one of those insta-cocking things. The crossbow would mainly be for if I'm sitting up on a ridge or something and I find the vampire and it's in the middle of feeding or something, just pluck an arrow down range and snipe its skull. So I'd also have the crossbow with me. Now, naturally, if I was a vampire hunter in period, in areas where vampires were very prevalent, I'd probably also have a horse and carriage as a mobile base of operations. So I would keep my crossbow in the carriage, pretty much out of the way, and only take it out when I had to. Now, there is something that I would modify this crossbow with if I was going to be using it against vampires. The brand is a Game Crusher. By Trigger Tech. It's the Game Crusher by Trigger Tech. I got this at a pawn shop a year or two ago. And only have fired it about once, because I need to get strings for that. Need to look into how much new strings are. And another piece of equipment that I would have would be a muzzleloader. I've got the Bear CDX Intense Crossbow. Nice. This is a CVA Wolf 50 caliber black powder only muzzleloader with a Crush Horns butt pad. But yeah, and this falls into the same category as I said before with a musket. In this case, I'd have the ability to take out a vampire from long range. And in the 17th century, this isn't accurate, but they would have shot, powder, and wad all together in what we would consider a cartridge. So what they would do, and this was actually this is not actually a 17th century thing, this is from the Civil War, but that's not to say that someone in the 17th century couldn't have had the same idea. It just wasn't widely used. What this would entail is basically just imagine a modern bullet. I don't use firearms. To each their own, Gargoyle, but this will have more range than any crossbow, even if it was a historically accurate period musket. But, so I was saying. Oh, there's the rest of the pieces. We got it under the padding. But what in the 18th century, what they had is soldiers on the front line. They would have what we would consider a cartridge with, the brass casing and the bullet. In the period, it was paper, powder, and then the shot. I'm scary good with one in my hands. Firearms are swords because we've established swords already. But yeah, you'd basically bite the bullet with your teeth, pour the powder in, put the wad in, seat the powder, put the wad in, seat the wad, or put the powder in, put the wad in, put the bullet in, tamp it all down tight, put that back on, pull back the hammer for the striking pan, put your sights on, and bam. Instant dead vampire. Firearms, that's why I don't use them. That explains a lot. Yeah, if I was a vampire hunter, definitely would have the musket, the crossbow, and the sword. It's the closest thing I have to a musket analog. I don't have Uncle Butch's muzzleloader here.
Get your ass out of here and eat.
But yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed the live stream, Gargoyle. Dinner's ready, and I gotta get ready to go. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you can tune in Monday for the official weekly episode of the Outlaw Samurai Show. And you gotta post some videos of you using firearms now, because now I'm kind of interested. Well, I'm out. Peace, and thank you for tuning in, Gargoyle. And thanks for the compliment.